Aretha Franklin. Yes, rest in peace, dear Aretha. But I'm in question of this 80 million, yes, legacy. Her estate and all the rest. Aretha Franklin. Her being dead and gone, she was wise beyond her years. Yes, Aretha. Let me pause. Like, subscribe. Did you catch that? I should edit that out, and yet I'm not. Imperfection sticks, as in it's stuck. Like, subscribe, ID in the Discovery Channel. Yes, ID in the Discovery Channel. The links are provided below. So yeah, about that 80 million, yes, legacy on the end of Aretha Franklin. Because see, when that sort of thing happens pertaining to, say, you know, families of all races, nationalities, and all the rest, it's to know sometimes there could be fights with that sort of thing. The legal battles that comes with, say, a celebrity death, and who feels they're well deserving, as in the earning, despite many of those people say even blood family members are not so well deserving of when a celebrity family member has died, been put to rest, and yet no will is involved. So I'm wondering who's going to come out first with that sort of thing. I don't think it's going to be because see, even Aretha had a child that was what's the word for it? He had I won't say mental handicaps. People call it that, right? Some people say slow or whatnot, but yeah, she in fact had a child that was born like that. So I don't think that's going to be him. It might not in fact be none of her family members, and yet you still want to watch out for even, say, friends and all the rest, as in who Aretha chose to keep around her. Because to not have a will is to say, man, you never even know. So yeah, with that, also shouts out to Willie Wilkerson. Anybody know who Willie is? Google that as well, as in a research team on your end to find out who I just dished a shout out to. So yeah. Upon entering Franklin's final days of her cancer battle, pancreatic cancer, that is so sad, her massive 80 million estate stands in question. Yes, it does, and so does her will, as in who's going to get what and why. That's silent treatment on my end. Because, I do. In fact, I just stated that in the opening. I know usually what comes with that. Like, who doesn't? With all these deaths that's constantly happening, family members and friends playing. Yeah, so I'm wondering who stands more deserving on the end of the Franklin family. Who you, the viewer, I want you to tell me, who do you think, sense, believe, and feel could be a well-deserving family member in order to obtain Aretha Franklin estate, as in to handle it and not mismanage it. Because see, to know that legacy in fact lives on is to keep it prosperous and going, and yet not many individuals would know how to not only obtain that sort of thing, such as an estate. Remember, there's no bare minimum with that. That's an estate, right? So that sort of thing has to be managed properly, and not only that, it has to keep going, just in the form of even how Michael Jackson, being dead and gone, and yet his estate is well alive. You in fact want to place people there to not mismanage that, even the funds that go with it, to keep legacy alive. Because see, to funnel some money somewhere and have it go to the wrong hands is to know legacy could in fact, die out. And yet I'm guessing and sensing and believing, hope still stands with that, is the fact that you want to keep albums, keep dishing that out, as well as photographs and all that rest pertaining to even magazine covers and all that, all the rest of that. That's in fact the property, intellectual property, that points in with even a state of Aretha Franklin. Photographs, photo stills, what I love to call them, music, anything that Aretha Franklin's voice has been on and she has touched, that sort of thing you wouldn't want to be mismanaged. Oh my goodness, no. Yeah, I did say that in my notes pertaining to when I stated in the beginning, people's true colors do tend to come out when a death, has been laid to rest, and yet the spirit still walks amongst us, right? That's when family members, their true colors come all the way out. As in when even sometimes they begin to turn against their own kind when they see money dangling as well as a will dangling in the courtroom on top of that. Because all this, yes, would and should and will involve a courtroom with that sort of thing. Even with no public involved, right? Just the airing later as in what has happened and why, right? But yeah, the family deaths, as in the family members dying, is one of those sort of things that in fact do divide families. People who are not able to say, let me see. You have people that are in fact able to bypass the looking and viewing of money and looking more at their own loved ones and valuing their own loved ones on up above and yes, beyond the dollar sign is what I'm trying to say. Those individuals in the family are usually for the safekeeping, as in they don't become divided once money is there. And yet some other individuals, once again, wouldn't not only know how to take Aretha's death, but there's money hungry that sits with that, as well as not only just money hungry, but even her assets, right? Things that you leave behind, whether it's a house, whether it's a car. Some industry individuals love fine jewelry as well as fine dining, such as having dining room pieces and all the rest. Aretha Franklin, the individual, and the way that she carried herself, you can tell that yes, she was even a rise above, as in what she loved to fit not only on herself, the dressing, the clothes and all the rest, but possibly even nice homes and cars that people in her world will want a part of, and possibly fight and bicker over that, and yet it not being seen completely in the public's view, or come out later. Those sort of things in fact do come out later, as in a play out. Somebody you thought you loved and cared about didn't feel the same way about you because they're wanting to get her dining room set or her jewels or what. That is so sad. That's completely sad. Let me leave that alone. Let me pause. As in the game has been locked out, right? So, yeah. 80 million. 80 million does not, in fact, last long. I'm saying people, they don't really pay attention because, see, look, Aretha Franklin, her 80 million estate, yes, with people that don't have those type of funds would say that that's a lot of money. And yet to be industry and be revolving yourself around other industry individuals, whether it's family or friends, and they're used to you having that type of money and whatever else, right? It's to say they're going to get used to having those type of funds being and sticking around, right? And so to get used to and adjusted to those type of funds is to know it can be spent quite easily and quickly at that. So is it dollars? Or is it homes, cars, and all the rest? I want you, the viewer, to tell me. Because see, the value, the estate, just like the Michael Jackson estate, when I stuck that side by side, a lot of things go with that, right? As in money can be made off of that sort of thing. And yet some people are in fact known and prone to spend just as quickly as something that's coming in. To put out an album and make some sales and all the rest with that, times have shifted, is to note, yes, iTunes can be there, and yet money is not. Yes, the prices and all that, prices is not as jacked up on album sales as they used to be back in the day because of downloads and all the rest. But yes, once again, it's still intellectual property, right? But depending on the mindset of who was around and once again revolving Aretha, is to say they more than likely could be used to that type of money just from hanging around her and watching her spend. So that's this two question, okay, to put out something to be sold in the name of Aretha, to say how quickly is that money coming in going to be spent. That's why you shouldn't fight over these sort of things, money and all the rest. I'm saying it holds value. Yes, it does when I said legacy. But not all like that, where it's going to be ripping up ties and all that rest. Not that rest, but yeah, ripping up your ties. Because see, once Aretha has been laid to rest, right? I'm telling you where the fighting and bickering. Once she's laid to rest, It's to say, well, yes, who wants and who's deserving of the funds and who's to properly manage it, right? But if that sort of thing ain't upkept and all the rest right, it's to say not only has she died, not only could somebody tarnish her whatever with that, that's to say nothing will be left, if anything, if nobody knows how to manage everything. That will be said on the end of even Aretha, with her being dead and gone in the grave. Don't put stuff in the wrong people's hands. That ain't gonna work. So Franklin was unwed at the time of her death, that we know. Yes, that's been played out in the media for time on end. The timing piece of her being yes, completely unwedded. She survived by 4 sons, ages 48 to 63 years old. Aretha was quite up there in age, wasn't she? She's still golden, yes, Queen of Soul, what so many of us called her. She's still golden, yeah. And yet you would never even thought that she was that old. To have a 63-year-old be the oldest child, right? So yes, it's stated in Michigan, the state of Michigan, where the singer lived the most of her life, and also where she died. There's Michigan laws, yes, pertaining to the will and all the rest, yes. And the Michigan law oftentimes states, when it comes to Franklin and her 4 children, the Michigan state law specifically states that Franklin's 4 children should receive equal shares of her sizable estate. That's in fact a true statement. There is laws, not in every state. Each state, depending on where you roam, live, and die, is to know it's going to be different. And yet for this sort of situation, that's what Michigan state laws feel. And I agree with that sort of thing, because see, for there to be a takeout as in a death, a life loss, right? And you not have a will to say, once again, the question I asked in the beginning, I'm repeating again, and I should, who's to divvy up the funds? Who should get what percentage and why? And should friends be involved in this? Because you do too have attorneys too. You have attorneys, you have people that done said yes, did duets with singers once they died that feel like they deserve. Because remember, for 2 voices to be on the same album or track or whatever, is to say, well, I deserve some too, despite you not being there with Aretha or whoever else for years on end. How do you deserve to? But those, in fact, do be situations where once these celebrities die, here come everybody out the woodwork. Yes, that might have, in fact, been involved on one of her tours. Now here they come talking about, well, I deserve too. Well, no. Michigan state law should just, yes, divvy up that equally amongst her kids and let that be the end of that. Nobody else should really be getting a piece of the prize. That's not going to work. That ain't never going to work. So, yeah, legal battles. I state that. I did state that. Didn't I state that, or did I not? Legal battles always follow this sort of thing, right? Usually the larger the estate and the larger the public figure, that means celebrity, yes, it factors the likelihood there's going to be issues. The bigger something is in the limelight, yes, the bigger the figure, the bigger the name, all that is going to pose problems. It just has to. And not only that, it also shows who more likely was there for your best interest while you were alive and also while you're dead. Somebody has to step up to the plate, even rightfully, pertaining to, say, record labels. Even when some of these artists were independent after they've been on major record labels, you want somebody first class to do that sort of thing right. And not people that have mismanagement, money issues pertaining to that sort of thing, to set the record straight on that. That ain't completely gonna work at all, because Aretha's imprint is there, and it's gonna be there possibly while the estate is resting at 80 million. That's to say that this woman image more than likely is gonna be floating all over the atmosphere pertaining to who is tied with. I stated that already. And it might be there for the next 80 years. Aretha Franklin's image. Some people don't know even how to, yes, they don't understand intellectual property. They don't understand how even yes, record labels are owned, operated, and possessed, right? There's a lot of things that people just fail to understand, right? Sometimes even friends, yes, I said that the friends, yes, come up out of anywhere. Let me see. There's in fact one. It was a attorney, lawyer, attorney. Yes, interchangeable, right? Terminology. 3 decades ago, Don Wilson, one of Franklin's lawyers, said that he tried to convince Franklin she should not just do a will, but also a trust as well. But in the end, she never got around to doing either or. I wonder how true that is on the end of him. I'm saying more than likely that's true pertaining to Aretha's lawyer or attorney, but sometimes you got individuals that in fact want to get in on a story to make themselves look and feel more important pertaining to the limelight, and sometimes them individuals have never said anything to the singer or artist or whoever else. I'm saying more than likely Don Wilson, shouts out to you, baby. I'm saying more than likely he did tell Aretha that, but we don't really know how true that is, because sometimes when celebrities come out, I have noticed that. Haven't you noticed that since the day I was born? Where sometimes to make people feel more important, right? They try to put themselves, there to say, well, I told such and such way back when to do this and this and that. And in my mind, I'm thinking if that was 3 decades ago, you would have since believed that even by now, Franklin, right before she died, would have considered that sort of thing. So is what Don Wilson is saying true or not? I'm just in question. That's real interesting. I'm just saying, for the man to be her lawyer of all people 3 decades ago, maybe it slipped her mind. Aretha. And yet that's so odd and strange for her to have cancer. Pancreatic cancer, be told something 3 decades back she might have forgot, yes, of what he said, right? But I'm thinking somewhere in all of this, somebody else would have repeated what the lawyer of 3 decades ago said to her. Somewhere close right before she died, because to know that you got cancer there is to say, well, pancreatic cancer as well. Is to know you could fall dead, dear Aretha, right? But not only that, you might want to, in fact, provide some type of will or something. Something that be odd sometimes about the stories. Because I'm thinking that's not fresh in itself, like a fresh cut open wound for, say, a 3 decade old ago lawyer tell you that. I'm thinking that would have came up in Aretha's mind. I question their relationship, Don Wilson and Aretha Franklin. Because see, sometimes before people die, remember the subconscious mind, yes, it retains all type of information, even what people have said to you, possibly even 3 decades ago, when you wasn't even really, making yourself aware to know that what you should do. Sometimes some people, in fact, before they die, have flashbacks before they die. As in their life is played right before them, and they remember and see stuff that people have told them. Yes, and even with that as in a consideration of what you should do, right? And I'm thinking even with a Don Wilson, what he said to Aretha would have been settled on her mind right before she died. And yet for her not to even consider that is to say, what do we have? Could there have been a reason why Aretha didn't want a will there? That's weird in itself. See, she had 4 kids and not just say one or 2. I try to find that odd. That's not saying Aretha is odd. No, I myself is odd sitting here trying to figure out that you have 4 kids and one of them is considered handicapped, and yet no will. Maybe Aretha did that on purpose. I don't know. Because sometimes people do, in fact, sometimes people don't leave stuff behind because, once again, they don't want their family fighting over whatever. So they figure they'll leave it to the state. Because, see, look, if the woman lived and died in Michigan and possibly even somebody could have told her about Michigan law, remember, she lived there her whole life. So maybe Aretha allowed herself to be laid to rest, and even before, even in the mind and the memory, as in a peace of mind before she died, to just say, well, let them take care of it. The state law in place of my kids, to not tear up my family and all that other stuff. Because see, somewhere I'm thinking in this, maybe Aretha didn't want to play favoritism with her own kids or something. Maybe Aretha didn't want to seem like she was playing favoritism with her own kids and then have that on her subconscious mind while she's going to the grave. Which could be why there's no will there. You don't know the mindset of even Aretha Franklin. I would even ask her, yes, even in the grave, tombstone with all the rest, or why you wouldn't leave something of saying something, divide this down to my babies. That could be the situation. Nobody even knows. She could have been a mama, didn't want her kids to think that she was playing favoritism between the children, and just possibly said fuck it with that. Because see, you never know the relationship that even she had with her own children. That's what I'm trying to say. Who got along better with Aretha, her children? I'm saying which one of them got along better? Because sometimes children feel like their parents be playing favoritism from the beginning anyway. I can kind of guess and believe that is part of the situation. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But I'm guessing and sensing more than likely with my mindset being able to perceive deep up underneath this Aretha Franklin situation is to say it sit right where it is. The favoritism aspect. How she was getting along with all her kids. Which kids might felt like, well, she was treating such and such better than me. And sometimes kids can sense and feel, well, she might in fact leave such and such more to. That will rip a whole household, even though it's not a household. That will rip all the relationships up between the kids. That's why some people don't leave wills. So I think that's all to be said about this. I'm about to end this out, so I want you, the viewer, to allow me. No, I want to allow myself to allow you, the viewer, to leave a comment of what you think and feel about that will. So yeah, I'm gone. It's been quick, easy, and gentle. It has. So yes, we're on Discovery. Yes, right here. ID. The logo sits above, as in a right here. Live now. Yes, the killer beside me. I hope ain't no killer sitting right here beside me. Okay, twin sisters. Yeah, you got that. That's some goodness for you, as in a takeoff explosion. On new episode. Watch now. The Naked Truth. Recommended for you, Lieutenant Joe Kenda, Homicide Hunter. Yes. Descriptions are yes, and you can add that to your favorites. Evil Lives Here. Fatal Vows. Shouts out to Paula, Deadly Women, Red Rum, American Monster, Blood Relatives, Someone You Thought You Knew, Perfect Murder. Unlike episodes, they in fact, yes, await you as well. To Catch a Killer. You can add that to your watch later box. Yes. Twin Sisters, didn't I just mention that? Yes. Blood Runs Code. Season 1, Episode 1. What Lies Beneath. Twisted. Murder by Numbers. The Last Defense. The Devil Speaks. Deadline with Tamron Hall. Season 3, Episode 1. On last night, I'm just going to flow it through. The lock and the key, didn't I explain that? The lock and the key, once you see this, that means to sign in. And when you click that, it's going to tell you to, yes, drop a line as in your subscriber, who you subscribe with pertaining to the TV. Pamela Smart, The Missing Pieces. I did a video in relation to Pamela Smart. Most evil ranked. Evil Lives Here. Women in prison. Real talk. Have I known any individuals that are females in prison? I can't think I know of any personally. That will be bad in itself, because the way that I talk is to say many of them more than likely will want to in fact escape Yes, just to possibly come fight me and all the rest. Fight me. Live now on ID. I just stated that. Schedule preview. The time. Did you see the time? So the crime feed. We have the crime feed for you. If you click anywhere right here in this location, is going to take you outside to the crime feed, crimefeed.com, and all the rest pertaining to criminals and the slow dying process of what, even they do. Red crimes, hidden murders. To join the mailing list is to click here and type in whatever your email address is and press next, and you would in fact receive, yes, be the first to know. On the angle. That rhymed. Something like that. So I think that's all to be said for now. I am going to end out this video as in no shunt involved. No shunts. That means a blow. That means a low blow. So yes, enjoy your day, and I would in fact enjoy mine. To be an ID addict is to say, I'm gone.